Hi, everybody. This is Miss Fusaro, and I am going to talk to you a little bit today about fate versus free will when it comes to the ancient Greeks. So, the first thing to take note of are the fates. You could just call them the fates. Otherwise, they each have their own names. They're also called the Moirai. In English, they're the Fates. In Greek, it's the Moirai. But there's the three of them. There's Clotho, who is the spinner, Lachesis, who is the allottor, and Atropos, who's the unturnable. And together, it's important to understand that they work on what is considered a metaphorical loom and creating in this loom, they are sewing together their tapestry of all of the universe. And what's really important to understand about the fates is that absolutely no one can control them. No god, no titan, no one. No one is more, I guess, a way you could look at it is more powerful than the Greek fates because whatever they have spun is set. And essentially, I mean, if you're thinking about it in philosophical terms, if all fate is already predestined, then even what they will spin has already been determined. So time is meaningless because it's already been all set. And the way I like to explain it is thinking about it in terms of a road trip. So let's say you are going from New York City and your ultimate goal is to get to San Francisco. So in terms of Greek mythology and the fates, they're starting you in New York City. This would be your birth. And you're getting to San Francisco, and what feels like decisions that you've made, like maybe I'll start speeding a little bit through Wyoming. Oh, and then I got a speeding ticket while I was in Wyoming because I got pulled over by a state trooper. Oh no, maybe I should have went through Texas instead. What feels like decisions that you've made, that was already sewn in. That was already set by the fates. Like there was nothing, there's no choice that you seem to make that hasn't already been predetermined. And this caused trouble for multiple reasons because, of course, people would seek people who are usually noble because the people who aren't noble didn't have access to these things or access to divinity in that same way that they would go seek out oracles such as like Apollo's oracles or like the Apollo was in charge of the oracles and like there was like an oracle at Delphi for example and they would seek out these oracles and the oracles would always kind of speak in riddles so people were only getting bits and pieces of what their fate are and it's usually never good. I mean think about it. People don't know what their ultimate destinies are. People don't know the endpoint because what would we do with that information, especially in this world where you can't change anything anyway, or everything you do is going to lead to that point anyway. So anyone who sought their oracle, think about Kronos, right? They find out, okay, it's destined your son is going to overthrow you. So what does he do? He eats all his children. And then Rhea doesn't like having her children eaten, so she sends Zeus off to who will eventually overthrow him. So it feels like you're actually leading into your own fate. And this is because the Greeks love the idea of dramatic irony, tragic irony, where it's like you've almost crafted your own fate. But according to the Greeks, the fate was set anyway. So it didn't matter. That's why they kind of believe like you really shouldn't know what your ultimate destiny is because, you might try to constantly defy it, which is ultimately going to lead there anyway. And there's two philosophical systems that come out of this. Philosophical system one is, well, it is out of my hands, right? Everything happens for a reason. There is an infinite wisdom to the universe that I don't understand, but the fates have it set, and therefore it's out of my control. And there's a piece to that. There's a piece to kind of letting it go that it's not something that you can control. So that's one philosophical way to objectively look at it. And a second one is like, well, nothing is in my control. Well, how am I supposed to like? What's the point altogether if I can't control anything that I do? If everything that I do is ultimately going to lead there, then it's like my own life doesn't matter anyway. Like I don't have my own mind. There's no free will. And so fast forward to more modern religions where you have like monotheistic religions or like And like Christianity, especially where when and or actually just like Judeo-Christian belief system, so that you do have free will, that you do ultimately have choices that would lead you, to go upstairs or downstairs, and that you did have more control over that. So that was appealing to those people who didn't like the idea that you had zero control over your own destiny. But it's important, especially as we continue our journey with Greek mythology, to understand that power of fate, that it was set. There is nothing that can be done. And everything, every power, it didn't matter anyway. So understanding that is ultimately the fate and the fates were the most powerful beings in all of Greek mythology. If you have any questions, please let me know.